Hi everyone, this is Tanner and welcome here to the Super Bowl kind of recap show here. I was gonna kind of do this show differently because I was expecting this to be a very close game, kind of a lot of bullet points, really talk about this game in depth, in detail. But this was very much a Seattle domination, winning 29-13. Just kind of discussing my thoughts on this here. This might be a bit of a shorter episode here. And the Seahawks won. They are champions. Congratulations. I've talked a lot about the Seahawks on this show as well. So this is more so just kind of my thoughts on kind of just things here, right? Kind of just the game, the atmosphere, what do I think's next, kind of just future outlook here. More of just kind of saying on the top of my head here what I think happened. But yeah, overall, kind of a disappointing game. In fact, very disappointing. This has been such a great playoffs. And for this to kind of be the game we got, I mean, yeah, it was not really that good. I think there's some cool moments in there, you know, but they didn't really string together that well. This reminds me a lot of 2018, where you had the Patriots Rams Super Bowl, which I think is the worst Super Bowl of all time. I think this one was better than that, but still, that's not saying a whole ton. And basically, how that postseason went was the AFC Championship, that game, so the game before the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Patriots, was this epic back and forth. The Patriots won the Super Bowl, or won that game against the Chiefs, then went on to win the Super Bowl. I think this season was kind of the same thing, except for the NFC side, where a lot of people said the winner of Rams Seahawks is going to win the whole thing, and that ended up being true. The Seahawks beat the Rams, an absolute thriller in the NFC Championship game, and then destroyed New England in this game. So that's kind of what happened, and that's what it reminds me of. But yeah, it's just all the great games we have this season, so many memorable moments. To kind of end on a bit of a dud is disappointing, to be honest. I'm going to keep it straight here. But I do want to talk kind of about these teams, where I see things going. New England lost, and I was really surprised with how unprepared they looked. I really was. This old line for them was really, really bad. I mean, they were getting destroyed all night. This was a terrible offensive line performance. Credit to the Seahawks, credit to Mike McDonald and this defense, but this was a really bad old line game, and that happened early on. And I was like, okay, they're going to adjust, and they really didn't score till what, the fourth quarter. We had the Drake May touchdown to Mac Hollins. That was a really nice play, but it didn't happen till late, and then you got the garbage time touchdown here. Oh, they could have made a bit of a comeback in the late fourth quarter, but Drake May threw a pick to Seahawks safety Julian Love. Drake May did not look good as well. This is kind of concerning because my thought process was in the previous game, sure, Drake May had not played great, but he at least shown flashes, right? In the wild card game against the Chargers, he had that beautiful touchdown throw to Hunter Henry. In the divisional round, he had the touchdown pass, I believe, to Kyle Williams or Keishon Boutte in the end zone. And then the AFC title game, he had that running play for the first down to seal it. This game, he really did not have any highlights. I mean, the deep ball touchdown, I guess, was good, but he really looked bad in this game. He had trouble with pressure. He was just missing wide open guys, too. There's times where he had time to throw, and he was just missing guys. I'm like, oof. Like, I don't know. I still think Drake May had a really good regular season, right? He was really great. I think he should have won MVP. I still go back between him and Stafford, but he was really good, right? He was probably the second best quarterback in the league, if not number one this season. And then you get to the playoffs, and it's like, oof, this is not great. And it's kind of concerning because sometimes players in sports history just struggle in the postseason. Lamar Jackson, I'm a Ravens fan, but Lamar Jackson has struggled in the postseason where it's like he's all great in the regular season, and get to the postseason, it's just like, not the best. Now, I do think the best case scenario here, um, if you're a Patriots fan, is just that this is an experience. This is just Drake May. This was a tough defense. This is an all-time great defense. We're not going to be too worried about it. And like, if you come from that perspective, like, yeah, okay, I can see that, and that could be the case here, right? But I don't know. It was still kind of concerning with him. And this O line as well. Like I said, Will Campbell, rookie, who I really liked, he was left tackle in this game. He was losing a lot of his matchups here. So that was an issue with this O line that really got exposed in these playoffs here. So that's kind of a big thing that you really have to solidify next season. And I think next season is going to be tough in the AFC. The Bills got a new head coach that I really like in Joe Brady. You got a lot of, tough competitors in the AFC as a whole, as a conference. So you got to adjust that. And then I also, too, think the receivers, like, where do you go from here? I think Stephon Diggs had a really good season, but he's up there in age. Does he play another year? Do you trade for an A.J. Brown? Where does this thing go? I think that's just really something to think about. And I was just really surprised in this game how bad Josh McDaniels' play calling was, or how poor it was. I think he was awesome this season. Again, assistant coach of the year, really deserved it. There's so many times in this game I was wanting him to figure stuff out, not wanting, maybe waiting for him to figure things out, but he just didn't. And it really surprised me because that was one of my things why I originally picked New England. Now I switched to the Seahawks winning, but one of my early things was McDaniels has this experience in the Super Bowl. He has this, and just that kind of just didn't show up. And I think time will ultimately tell the truth with the Patriots. I think you can make a case that this team is a pretty great team. They just ran into a dominant team, right? If the Patriots are pretty good next year, if they win 10, 11, 12 games, they're, say, in the playoffs, maybe not the Super Bowl, but maybe lose in a divisional round. Okay, the Seahawks were just that good. Or, or is there more faults than we thought here? Okay, maybe things went New England's way. Maybe the ball just bounced their way a couple more times. And this team just kind of had a season where everything went right and there's more holes on their roster. We will ultimately see. I believe in kind of the first idea. I think this is a pretty good team. I think Mike Vrabel's a great head coach. I think there's a lot to like. I have praised this team very much on this show and channel. I'm not going to just sit here and lie, but I do think that there are more issues on this team than I expected, and you got to address them here. You got to really address them this offseason here. Really go to work and say, okay, how do we fix this online? What do we do with receiver? I like, Kayshon Boutte and Kyle Williams, but can they step up? Be very interesting to see. But teams can be back, right? You look at the 2019 49ers. They lost the Super Bowl. They made it back in 2023. The Eagles, right? 2022 they lost. They made it back in 2024 and won. It's very doable. And this Patriots team reminds me a bit of the 2022 Eagles, where you had people talking about the easy schedule and that whole narrative I'm not a big fan of. You play your opponents like I'm just going to go on a bit of a side tangent here. The whole easy schedule thing really kind of irks me because, and you can have the opinion you want, but look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals lost a lot of games they should have won. So, yeah, the Patriots beating all these teams, yeah, were the opponents they played maybe easier than others? Sure. But you still got to win those games, right? You still got to win them. You got to finish them out. And New England did. I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. But yeah, kind of going back to the Eagles comparison, where the Eagles in 2022, they kind of were there as a surprise. Wow, they're back. And then they continued to add firepower. They brought in Saquon Barkley. They drafted well, and then the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So can the Patriots do that? I think the Patriots have a good baseline. Can they add it? Can you make it rise here? I think that's a narrative to kind of just keep out on. And I think kind of talking about the AFC as a whole, I really think that you kind of feel bummed if you're a lot of AFC teams, especially the Bills. As I was watching this game, I'm like, I don't know if Josh Allen wins this game, but man, he could have made it close. And I really think the Bills messed up. They had a really nice year, but ultimately things fell short. I think you look at them. I think you look at the Lamar Jackson Ravens, we could have had a run. But this was kind of the offseason, and a lot of these teams made the changes, right? Joe Brady is now the head coach of the Bills. They fired their coach because they didn't make it. The Ravens fired their head coach. I really feel like this was a season that was kind of the off year for the AFC. Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, all these teams were out. Cincinnati as well. Patriots got in. They couldn't do it, unfortunately. But next year, I think these teams are going to be back. The Chiefs brought in Eric Bieniemy. Ravens hired Jesse Minter. These teams are going to load up, and it's like, okay, I think these are going to be back. And I think that, this, like I said, a lot of these AFC teams, like, man, that could have been us. I really think we're going to see a big kind of run on the AFC side. I think the AFC is going to be a gauntlet next year. I think we could see the flip where next year the winner of the AFC wins the Super Bowl as a whole. I mean, you talk about Mahomes and the Chiefs with that offense, with Eric Bieniemy getting back to the old ways of being explosive, plus still having good defensive players. You talk about the Bills with Joe Brady having an elite offense. You bring in Jim Leonard from the Broncos to have what could be an awesome defense. I mean, what a great move there. You also bring in Pete Carmichael from the Saints a couple of years ago to be an offensive consultant for the Bills. So you love that. The Ravens with Jesse mentioned that defense could be great. You got the Texans Do they revamp their offense? The Jaguars with another year of coaching. The Titans with Robert Salazar head coach. Look at that defense. You got Cam Ward there on that team. The Colts could be back when healthy. So that's the AFC South. I mean, this AFC North, if Aaron Rodgers returns to the Steelers, how do things go? Todd Monken, what if he gets the offense going with the Browns? I mean, and then you have the AFC West, which is a whole gauntlet. So this thing could be really good next year. And I really think that for the past couple of seasons, teams, they have not moved the needle. They did it. They're going to do it. And I could see AFC teams really going aggressive. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they respond. I'm very excited to see that. Um, and I think that's one thing of the Super Bowl was what are the lessons learned? I think this year it was invested in O-line, coaching matters, and to kind of go for your opportunity. And really interested to see how they respond. But yeah, New England ultimately a great season, right? And I do want to end on a good note. I mean, the fact that they were in the Super Bowl was impressive. Early in the season, I projected them to win 10, 11 games, and I had them losing. I think I had them in the AFC Championship game, but losing and then losing the divisional round. So the fact that they made it to the Super Bowl, they're in San Francisco, is great. They also had some really good defensive players here. You had Christian Gonzalez, an all-time amazing cornerback performance. Oh my gosh, Christian Gonzalez was amazing in this game. He denied like 2 Seahawks touchdowns. 2, which is crazy. If he doesn't do that, the Seahawks probably drop 40. Crazy. So he was awesome. Just the defense as a whole. Milton Williams was big, the defensive tackle for New England. So, yeah, New England lost. And there's a lot of stuff they have to fix. And there's a lot of disappointing elements. Like I said, I was just really disappointed in how the offense performed. I had them getting 24 points, and they fell 11 short of that. But this defense has some players, and that's why I'm ultimately kind of optimistic. So that's it for the Patriots here. Their season ends. A lot of hope. Can they just continue riding that train? That's what we'll see here. And with the 12-minute mark hitting, let's talk about the 12s. The Seattle Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. Woo! They do it. They do it. A lot of people think I'm a Seahawks fan. How much I'm posting this team. I had a couple of people reach out and like, congrats on the Seahawks winning. I'm like, thank you. I'm not a fan. I'm with the other two, or the other bird teams, the Eagles and Ravens. But yeah, and I've talked about Seattle a lot on the show because I do like this team. I wouldn't call myself a fan, but there's a lot to like. And the main thing is this defense. They call themselves the dark side, the defense. That's what I've seen. That nickname, Legion of Boom 2.0, I don't know if I like that one as much. But this is a nickname defense, and this was an amazing game. Wow. You get, 6 sacks on Drake May. You get a pick. You get 2 forced fumbles. You get a return touchdown. I mean, this was a dominant defensive performance. This was an all-time special kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of things to point out in this game that are worth talking about. I think the first one is the narrative. One narrative that I see going around the NFL that just annoys me is people saying the NFL today is soft, defenses don't matter. Look at this game. The defense didn't matter for Seattle. The other thing is so many players stepped up in this game. I mean, Julian Love, former New York Giants safety, getting the pick on Drake May. Great job by him. You had Uchenna Nwosu, former Chargers player, former Chargers edge rusher. He got the strip sack touchdown. Happy for him. He was drafted in, 2018? I've liked him when he was on the Chargers. Now in 2025, and he's a Super Bowl champion. You had him step up in this game. You had Darren Hall step up, get a sack. You had Riley Mills get his first career sack. You had this linebacking core playing great. You had Devon Witherspoon on the sack. And I'm just so happy for how many Seahawks players have a ring. DeMarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, all these guys here, all these players have a ring. And I'm just so happy. And I've talked a lot about on this podcast about just Seattle playing as a team unit. And now they have that ring. This is the first time that they're a head coach that's called defensive plays a Super Bowl champion. Yes, Mike McDonald, the head coach, calls plays. He is a Super Bowl champion. I think that is just so impressive. Like, I love the Seahawks team. Maybe I am a fan after talking about it more, but just so happy for them. Defensively, the offense here in this game was fine. Sam Darnold had a couple misses, but he had A.J. Barner for the touchdown. He had some, it was kind of funny with Sam Darnold because this was kind of like, you look at his career, there's a lot of bad and a lot of good. And this game, he had some misses, but then he had some great plays. It was either like he had a bad miss or great throw. It was kind of like 50-50. It was like, okay. But you know what? The good plays he made were really good. He had some great throws. Cooper Cup on the sideline early in the game really sticks out in my mind. So yeah, and the fact that Sam Darnold's a Super Bowl champion after kind of the tough years, it's just cool to see. I mean, how can you not love it? How can you not just happy for him? Just happy for him, happy for the Seahawks team, and just what a job this team has done building this team up, whether it be through the draft, getting Nick Amenwari, Gray Zabel in the draft. And they made some risky moves. Like they traded away Geno Smith in the past offseason. That worked. You gave Sam Darnold that huge contract. That worked. You traded away DK Metcalf to the Steelers. That worked. Just so many things the Seahawks done have worked. And I think that it's a good example of being aggressive and knowing when to make the right trades, but also sticking with your guys. You know, for every big Seahawks move you have on this team, you also have players that were naturally developed there. And that's a tough thing to do. And that ultimately comes down to coaching. Mike McDonald is an excellent head coach. And that's kind of my takeaway, like I said, of coaching. Like, I could, be here and sit here and talk about, well, they got this guy to develop, this guy doing that. That just is down to coaching these guys in the building. And the thing with doing analysis is you can tell a lot about a player, how they play, but there's a lot in that locker room, a lot what they do day in and day out that we don't see. And I really think what the Seahawks did is they hired Mike McDonald. They said, hey, this guy knows how to evaluate talent in people, and that's why you're hosting a Lombardi. He was able to know when to move on from this player, when to keep this player. And it's awesome. It's really cool, and that's what makes sports so fascinating because there's so many layers to this. And I'm just happy for Seattle. I do think they're the rightful champion. I mean, this team was the best team throughout this season, and they were awesome in the playoffs, and they won this game. And this team, for me, the 2025 Seattle Seahawks, were just a team that was amazing to watch. They had so many great games, so many memorable moments, so many different ways they scored. Special teams, defense, offense, they did it all. They did it all. And this team just feels very satisfying the way they were built. You had veterans like DeMarcus Lawrence as a champion, Leonard Williams, like I said, their champion, Sam Darnold, JSN, Cooper Kupp, and he gets another ring. Just so many, just really cool things about this Seattle team. Um, and they remind me too a lot of those teams that you hear about in kind of football a couple decades ago, where you had, say, the Dolphins in 1972 when they went undefeated, or those Washington teams that were really good in 1985 and or 1987, the 1980s where they beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl and beat the Bills. You had teams like those, and you kind of say what made them so good. And sure, they had really good players. There's a lot of guys who are on the Hall of Fame, but it's just that team identity. And I think that's something that's beautiful about football. Yes, it's awesome when you have a top-loaded team, such as the 90s Cowboys. We have an elite running back, quarterback, receiver. Or the Niners, right? The dynasty with Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott. Those guys. Or the Patriots with, Brady and Gronk. Or the Chiefs with Mahomes balling out, throwing it to Kelsey. And those are really special. Or where you have the one-man shows winning it. Not one-man shows, but it's led by an elite quarterback, such as Aaron Rodgers getting his ring there, Drew Brees, and those teams had great defenses, but kind of quarterback more centric teams. Like, that's special. But I think there's something special about the Seahawks team and teams like that. I think last year's Eagles were very much like this. They're just very well built. And 20 years from now, when you look at the Seahawks, they have really good numbers, especially JSN, Offensive Player of the Year. He got what he deserves. Sam Darnold had a good season. Kenneth Walker was Super Bowl MVP. Want to shout him out? He was awesome. He was my vote. You could vote for Super Bowl MVP. He got it. The running back, he was great. Love that. But yeah, you look back in 20 years and you say, yeah, this was a pretty good team. But what made them special? And it's just a team you watch. You just see it on the field. And it's just the way they play. It's that teamwork. And that's what makes sports beautiful. That's why I love football so much. It's not just one person. I think individual sports can be special. Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt dominating in swimming and track and field or sprinting is special, right? It's really cool. But when you have a teamwork and everyone comes in, does their part, it's unique. And I love, after this game, the Seahawks won. Mike McDonald goes to raise the Lombardi. He's like, hey, I want my other guys to get in. And Sam Darnold raises it. Like, that's just, there's something special about that. The teamwork, multiple people. And I think it's just beauty to be kind of in this era of the NFL back to back years. And even then, you can argue the 2023 Chiefs. Yes, they had Mahomes. Mahomes is an all time great quarterback, but Mahomes that year was pretty good, but not amazing. But the Chiefs were just very well built. And we're just getting into this era of NFL where it's just really about crafting the kind of just right teams, right cultures, and it's kind of beautiful to be honest. So yeah, that's what I thought ultimately of the game. The game could have been better, but I think the way it went down, or the lessons can be learned are plentiful. San Francisco was a great venue. I thought it was really cool to see. But yeah, interested to see kind of next year goes for the Super Bowl. And does this trend continue? I think teams that kind of fit this mold could be the Lions, the Giants, the Saints. I think could be up there as sleeper teams. I could see Seattle repeat. I know I've kind of been hesitant on that take, but with how good they were this game, I could see them going back to back. I wouldn't mind a Seahawks dynasty. I think that could be really cool. I think Mike McDonald's talented, and the fact that he got a ring just makes me so happy. Like it's hit that the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, but they're having that ring. I mean, you talk about so many talented head coaches in the league that have not won a Super Bowl. Mike McDonald got one. Like so happy for him and all these players. And by the way, one elite coaching staff you have. I want to talk about this where you have Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, who said he's going to take the Raiders job. He brought him in, and that's the other thing too. Like last year, 2024, the Seahawks had a different offensive coordinator. You had Shane Waldron. He got fired because the offense wasn't good enough, and they brought in Clint Kubiak. Like gamble that, or not gamble, but you made the right choice there. And then you have Leslie Frazier, who's a longtime NFL coach, as like an assistant on this staff. Just great stuff. You have Aiden Durr as the defensive coordinator, who I believe was from the UK. So you just have this really well-rounded staff for Seattle, right? This is just like awesome. Happy for the fans as well, and just the team they got done. And it just feels like an NFL season. You know, this game I don't think was really the right way how you summarize an NFL season because it was a pretty to bad game in an amazing season. But the season had so many different elements. You had young teams emerge, you had veterans dominate, and that's where the Seahawks are. And how special that the champions of the league is a team that best represents the league. I think there's something just really special about that. I think there's something just so cool about that narrative. That doesn't always happen in football, but yeah, it was special. And Seattle, you know, the offensive line, there's some areas to improve. You know, this team isn't perfect, but they're just really good. They really did a great job constructing this roster. This was a very tough roster to, you know, kind of figure out, okay, where's everything going? But the Seahawks did it. They did it. They won this NFC West. They won the NFC. They go to San Francisco, beat the Patriots, win a Super Bowl in the house of the Niners. That's so special. And Seahawks fans, enjoy the Super Bowl win. You deserve it. Thank you everyone for watching here. In terms of kind of future content here, I want to do kind of what I think teams off season should look like here, getting more into that. But I appreciate the support I've been getting. It's been really special. It's been really great. And yeah, start doing this in the playoffs, starting wildcard round. We went to the Super Bowl. We did it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for your support. Until then, take care.